And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Kyle. And Kyle writes, "Hey, John, if the reported issues for The Batman are true, what should Warner Brothers do? Are they in too deep financially to put it on HBO Max to save face? But if the rumors are true, I hope they are not. It will be disastrous as a theatrical release. Thanks." All right. So many of you people are probably reading that and you're thinking, wait a minute, time out. What issues with The Batman? What issues? So here's what happened. Last night, as I was getting show notes together for today, I had about 4 or 5 messages from different people writing in saying, "John, did you hear that Warner Brothers hates the new Batman? John, did you hear that Warner Brothers wants to delay Batman again because they're so unhappy with it?" And I heard from like 4 or 5 different people writing in to the show saying, "John, did you hear this?" And I just kind of ignored it, BS, BS, BS. But then I woke up this morning, and I rolled out of bed at about 6 this morning, checked my notes, and there was like 20 more messages from people saying, "John, did you hear? Apparently the Batman's really bad and Warner Brothers hates it. And they're talking about delaying it and all this kind of stuff." And I'm like, well, I mean, if all these people are talking about it, I should probably look into it, but it sounds BS to me. Now listen, before we get into where this is all coming from, I will tell you this. The reason this sounds BS to me, all right, there are 3 primary reasons why this sounds like BS to me, and I didn't really pay any attention to it at first. Number 1, DC and Warner Brothers were very vocal about how much they loved Matt Reeves' pitch of the Batman. I mean, back years ago now we're talking years ago, they were extremely vocal about how much they loved his pitch. Fast forward to the first DC fandom they did. Even though the Batman was now forever away, they decided to feature a lot of the Batman and do this big Q&A thing with Matt Reeves. It was kind of like the crown jewel of DC fandom. That whole thing they did with Matt Reeves. They clearly, if they didn't believe in this movie, they clearly wouldn't have spent so much time at DC fandom talking about the Batman, because they could have just not talked about it and said, the reason we're not talking about it is it's still more than a year away. But they didn't. They made this big forum thing out of it and they talked with him about it and blah. So number 1, they were extremely vocal about how much they loved his pitch. Number 2, they are so big on how this is turning out that they decided to make this big feature thing at DC fandom, even though the Batman was still a long ways off. The third reason is one I might get into a little bit of trouble for mentioning. So I'll just do it without mentioning any details. But not terribly long ago, I was on a Zoom call with myself, someone I know at Warner Brothers, and 3 or 4 other people in my field. I won't say who, but a few other people in my field who kind of do what I do, right? And during that call, it was kind of mentioned and dropped that they love, like the basic attitude coming out of it was, guys, wait till you see this. Like, they weren't singing about it the way Kevin Feige is singing about the Eternals. Like, Kevin Feige's like, Eternals is going to be a Best Picture winner. Like, he's not saying, they never said it was like, this is going to be the best picture of the year. This is the greatest Batman movie ever made. But they were very positive. And the underlying message was, we can't wait for you to see this. Like, we can't wait for you to see this. That sort of thing. So when you combine the fact that they were so vocal that they loved the pitch, the fact that they were so big on what was happening that they devoted a lot of time and made a big deal out of the Batman at DC fandom, and combined with the fact that myself and a number of other, probably of online guys that you watch, have been told what I was told, I just immediately thought, well, this sounds like BS. This sounds like absolute, utter BS. But again, I woke up this morning to see about 20 more messages, so clearly people are talking about this. Batman's in trouble. Warner Brothers hates Batman. They're going to delay it again. So I started my research, and anybody want to guess where one of the main things is? that this came from? Anybody want to guess? If you guess we got this covered, oh my goodness, kudos to you. And now, of course, in case it's not clear, for those you may not know, We Got This Covered is the #1 fake news site on the internet. Never, ever, ever believe anything that comes from We Got This Covered. All right? Just be clear about that. Never buy anything. But We Got This Covered, they got a source. They're not saying we are telling you that the Batman is bad and that Warner Brothers is unhappy with it. We've got a source. And where do they get their source from? You guessed it. Reddit. An anonymous user on Reddit said Batman was in trouble. Now, I just want to remind everybody that the great anonymous sources on Reddit are the same place that that rumor that everybody believed. But remember, before Batman versus Superman came out, everybody believed that Batman versus Superman was being split into two movies. It was going to be called Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice, and the other one was going to be called Batman versus Superman Enter the Night, with the K, right? Enter the Night. Remember that? Remember this image? Let me see if I can. There. Remember this image? That flew all around the internet? Ooh, and it came from Reddit, therefore it must be true, and everybody just believed it. Everybody just believed it. And then some people online, I was one of them, but there were others as well, tried to talk to the fan base and say, guys, don't buy this. This isn't coming from anywhere legitimate. And anybody can Photoshop a screen capture like that. Don't buy this. And a lot of us got told we were stupid. Obviously, it's true. It wouldn't be on the internet if it wasn't true. But basically what happened here is that We Got This Covered got a post on Reddit. And basically the post said this: I have a guy who usually works for Marvel Studios who recently also heard from someone who said he worked on the Batman and that the film will make fun of Snyder by making a big deal out of Batman's no-kill rule and explaining why he doesn't and should never kill. Also, was told by same person that the Batman is amazing, but that stupid Warner Brothers is unhappy with it for stupid reasons. They are thinking about delaying, but no final decision. Let me read this very, very high-level journalistic source writing again. Also was told by the same person that the Batman is amazing, but that stupid Warner Brothers is unhappy with it for stupid reasons. They are thinking about delaying, but no final decision. So, I would never even bother talking about this on my show. And this has happened several times where there's some BS thing going around, not worth talking about. But when I have 25 to 30 people writing in, that means it's catching on with people, and I feel like we need to at least address it. Now, look, let me say this. Is it mathematically impossible that anybody at Warner Brothers might not be thrilled with how the Batman is turning out? Of course it's possible there's some people at Warner Brothers or anywhere that might not be happy. It's mathematically possible. Is it possible that Batman could be delayed again? Well, obviously, because when they set the new release date, we remember we talked about this on the John Campea Show. When they set the new release date, one of the phrases that they used was "for now." Now, for now, our date is blah, 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 and then we're aiming for that. So we've always known that the Batman could get another bump. We've known that for 6 months to a year, that it could get another bump. That's possible. But I also want to remind everybody, none of this is in any of the sources that have the real connections. Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, Entertainment Weekly, Deadline, The Wrap, whatever. None of these places are reporting this. This is coming from an anonymous user on Reddit who says he heard from somebody who heard from somebody else that stupid Warner Brothers wants to delay it for stupid reasons. Okay, look, I want to talk about something here for a second. Okay, I just want to talk about this for a second. This is what's known in legal terms as hearsay. So remember, this anonymous Reddit user is not saying, I have spoken to the Warner Brothers executives I have heard the Warner Brothers executives say they hate it. He's saying that he heard from somebody who heard from somebody else. This is what's called hearsay in legal terms, okay? What is hearsay? Let's jump into the Campea classroom for just a second. Hearsay, by definition in the dictionary, is the report of another person's word by a witness, which is usually disallowed as evidence in the court of law. So basically, here's this. This is what evidence. Let's say a cat, follow along with me here, okay, guys? Let's say a cat was seen making scrambled eggs. Okay, that's our scenario. A cat was seen making scrambled eggs. Okay. So Abigail comes into court, and Abigail says, I saw a cat making scrambled eggs. Okay, so I'm just going to put AB. Abigail says, I saw cat making eggs. Okay, that's evidence. That's legitimate testimony in a court. That's something the court takes seriously. It's not that the witnesses are always 100% honest or anything like that, but that's up for the court to figure out. But generally speaking, Abigail saying, I witnessed a cat making scrambled eggs. That is testimony. That's evidence. Where hearsay comes in is Abigail says, I heard from Susie that she saw a cat making eggs. Okay. Now we're in a situation where it's not Abigail saying she saw it. She's saying she heard from somebody who saw it. That is hearsay. That's something the courts normally don't take seriously. There are exceptions. I'm oversimplifying this. I'm totally oversimplifying this, but generally speaking, that's something the court doesn't take seriously. Somebody saying, I heard somebody else say that they saw something is hearsay. Well, when we look at, and by the way, Taylor Haywood sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thanks, Taylor. When we go back and look at this, it's not just hearsay. What we have here is double hearsay. I have a guy who usually works for Marvel who recently also heard from somebody who said he worked on the new Batman movie, that the film will make fun of Snyder, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what are we left here with? We are with something that's called double hearsay. Okay, so double hearsay is this. Abigail says, Susie says, Monica saw a cat making eggs. Okay, so now it's not only hearsay, it's not only Abigail didn't see it, she heard from somebody else, Susie, who she didn't even see it, who says she heard it from somebody else named Monica. So Abigail says Susie heard Monica say that Monica saw a cat. This is then double hearsay. It's not admissible in court. You can't take it seriously. There's so many points of error in there that it becomes ridiculous. So look, bottom line here for me is this. Is it theoretically possible? Is it theoretically possible that there is somebody over at Warner Brothers who did not like what they saw coming together in the Batman? It's theoretically possible. Is it theoretically possible that they could delay the Batman again? Well, we've been saying that for 6 months to a year, that they're saying that's the release date, but they were never really 100% concrete on that. So that's possible too. It's theoretically possible. But we as a movie fandom need to become more discerning, I believe, in what we hear, because we hear all sorts of nonsense every day. We hear all sorts of nonsense every day. And there's so much legitimate and non-legitimate stuff that comes out every day. We as a movie fandom and as a movie fandom community need to be a little bit more discerning as to what is worth talking about. What should we take seriously? What should we say, oh, that's interesting, let's file that away and we'll come back to it later if there's ever any more evidence that backs it up? And what should we just reject outright? And this is one of those situations to me that is one of these things that we can probably say, yeah, don't pay any attention to this rumor. Don't pay any attention to this rumor. And listen, I want to wade into the muck here for just a second, but this should be pointed out. It'd be remiss not to at least point this out. One of the other things about this report makes it pretty clear that there's an agenda. All right. The very fact that it mentions that the film is to make fun of Snyder. Okay. Right there. The film will make fun of Snyder. Right there. What is instantly obvious is that this was written with the agenda of riling up the Snyderverse fans, saying, see, Warner Brothers is the enemy. They're going to go out and attack Snyder. See? To me, that's a dead giveaway. Now, I'm not saying people who are fans of Snyder, I'm a fan of the Snyderverse movies, obviously Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, but it's not to say that people shouldn't be big fans of Snyderverse or want Snyderverse to continue if that's what they want. I personally don't think they should, and they probably won't. But there's also some people that are just very militaristic about it. And this being put in there makes it a dead giveaway that this is just to bait and rile up people who are Snyderverse supporters, to get them all in a tizzy and to get them all sharing it around and stuff like that. Because, I don't know anybody who can seriously do the stuff who writes, because stupid Warner Brothers wants to delay it for stupid reasons. But the Batman movie's awesome. As if they saw it. The Batman movie's awesome, but stupid Warner Brothers doesn't like it. Okay, so to me, whatever. Now look, anything is possible. Anything is possible. But to me, this is a clear, obvious thing that we don't need to pay any attention to this. Pay no attention to this. It's not worth it. And if at some point we hear that the Batman is going to get another delay, don't forget, that's kind of been a topic of conversation for a long time, that was a possibility. So don't jump to any conclusions. So we'll see. And by the way, am I saying that Matt Reeves' The Batman is going to be awesome? No, I don't know that. For all I know, it's going to be a steaming pile of garbage. I believe it's going to be great because I think Matt Reeves has earned the benefit of the doubt. I think, and the trailer was fantastic, and I believe we're going to get a really good movie. But do we know we're going to get a great movie? No, it could be terrible. Maybe it will. I'm no blind Matt Reeves Batman fanboy. I'm excited about it. I'm eagerly anticipating it, but I also know it could be terrible. So I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about these reports going around? Do you buy into it? Do you not? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.